The oak door rattled under the force of desperate fists, and Jasper Donovan nearly dropped the axe he had been sharpening when he heard a woman's voice rasp through the wood, begging in broken gasps for sanctuary. He crossed his small cottage in 3 strides, hand hovering over the latch as years of frontier caution warred with the raw desperation in that voice. When he pulled the door open, his breath caught at the sight before him. An orc woman stood on his threshold, her green skin flushed darker with exertion, her black hair tangled and falling from what had once been an elaborate arrangement of braids and silver ornaments. She wore ceremonial garments, a dress of deep crimson silk embroidered with gold thread, now torn at the hem and stained with mud. Her amber eyes were wide with panic, and her small tusks were visible as she panted for breath. She was beautiful in a way that made his chest tighten and terrifying in her obvious distress. "Please," she managed, her accent thick but her words clear. "They are coming. I need to hide." Jasper did not hesitate further. He grabbed her wrist and pulled her inside, closing the door and dropping the bar across it. "Who is coming? My clan, my betrothed, everyone." She swayed on her feet and he caught her elbow to steady her. Up close, he could see that her hands were bleeding from where she had clawed through brambles, and her feet were bare, cut, and bruised. "I ran from my wedding. They will kill me if they find me." The weight of what she had just said settled over the room like a heavy blanket. Jasper had lived on this frontier homestead for 3 years, ever since he had left military service and wanted nothing more than peace and solitude. The land was disputed territory, where human settlements bordered orc clan territories, and tensions ran high. He had chosen this spot precisely because it was isolated, far from both human villages and orc camps. Now he had an orc bride, a runaway, standing in his home, and whoever was chasing her would not take kindly to a human sheltering her. "Why did you run?" he asked, moving quickly to his small window and peering out through the shutters. The forest beyond was still quiet, but that would not last long. She wrapped her arms around herself, and he noticed she was shaking. "Because I would rather die than marry Cara Stonefist. He is cruel. He has already beaten 2 wives to death. My father arranged it for political alliance, and I had no choice until the moment I stood before the shaman and realized I could not do it." Her voice broke. "So I ran." Jasper turned back to look at her, really look at her. She was tall and strong, as all orc women were, but there was a softness to her features that spoke of youth. She could not be more than 20 summers. Her amber eyes met his, and he saw the same exhaustion and fear he had seen in the eyes of refugees during the war, people who had lost everything and were clinging to their last thread of hope. "What is your name?" he asked. "Cara Stoneheart." She lifted her chin despite her fear. "I know what I am asking. If they find me here, you will be killed too. But I saw your cottage and I had nowhere else to go. I am sorry." The sound of distant horns echoed through the forest and they both froze. Jasper's mind raced. He had perhaps 10 minutes, maybe less, before the searchers reached his homestead. His cottage was small, just 2 rooms with a loft above, and there were not many places to hide someone as distinctively orc as Cara. "The cellar," he said suddenly. "I have a root cellar. It is not much, but it might work." He led her quickly to the back room where he slept in cooking, pulling aside a worn rug to reveal a trapdoor in the floor. The cellar beneath was cool and dark, lined with shelves that held his stores of vegetables, dried meat, and preserves. It was cramped, barely tall enough to stand in, but it was hidden. Cara looked down into the darkness and then back at him. "Why are you helping me? You do not know me. I am orc." "You asked for help," Jasper said simply. "Now get down there and do not make a sound no matter what you hear." She climbed down the ladder, her wedding dress rustling against the wooden rungs, and he lowered the trapdoor, covering it again with the rug. He had just finished arranging his bed frame over the corner of the rug when the pounding began on his door, harder and more aggressive than Cara's desperate knocking had been. Jasper took a deep breath, composed his face into an expression of irritated confusion, and went to answer it. When he lifted the bar and opened the door, he found himself facing 5 orc warriors, all male, all armed, and all looking ready for blood. The one in front was massive even by orc standards, his green skin scarred from many battles, his tusks large and prominent. He wore armor of leather and iron, and his hand rested on the hilt of a wicked-looking axe. "Human," the orc growled. "Have you seen an orc female? She wears red and gold." Jasper leaned against the doorframe, forcing himself to appear casual despite his racing heart. "I have seen no one. I live alone out here. What is this about? A runaway bride?" Another orc spat. "She has brought shame on her clan. When we find her, she will face justice." "Justice or execution?" Jasper asked, his voice dry. The large orc's eyes narrowed. "That is not your concern, human." "We will search your dwelling. Like hell you will." Jasper straightened, his hand moving to the knife at his belt. "This is my land. You have no authority here." "We have the authority of pursuit," the orc leader snarled. "Our law says we may track a criminal wherever they run. And human law says I can defend my property from intruders." Jasper kept his voice level, but his muscles were tense, ready. He had fought orcs during his service years, and he knew how fast they could move when angered. "I told you, I have seen no one. Now get off my land." The two species stared at each other, the tension thick enough to cut. Jasper could see the calculation in the orc leader's eyes, weighing the benefits of forcing their way in against the consequences of attacking a human in disputed territory. Such an act could spark conflict between the settlements, something neither side wanted right now. Finally, the orc stepped back. "If we find you have lied, human, we will return, and we will not be so polite." "Noted," Jasper said flatly, and closed the door in their faces. He waited, listening as the orcs moved away from his cottage, their heavy footsteps crunching through the underbrush as they continued their search. He did not move from his position for a long time, even after the sounds faded, wanting to be certain they were truly gone. When he finally lifted the trapdoor, he found Cara sitting on the cellar floor, her knees drawn up to her chest, silent tears streaming down her face. She looked up at him with an expression of such profound relief and gratitude that it made his chest ache. "They are gone," he said quietly. "For now." She climbed out slowly, her legs shaking, and when she stood in his small room she seemed unsure of what to do with herself. "You lied for me. You protected me." "Why?" Jasper shrugged, suddenly uncomfortable with her intense gaze. "Seemed like the right thing to do. You were running from a forced marriage to a murderer. I was not going to hand you over to that. Most humans would have." She looked around his cottage, taking in the simple furnishings, the neatly organized shelves, the sword mounted on the wall that spoke of his military past. "Most humans hate orcs." "I do not hate orcs," Jasper said. "I have fought against orc war parties, yes. I have seen what happens when our peoples clash. But I have also seen humans do terrible things. Cruelty is not limited to one race." Cara was quiet for a moment, then she said softly, "Thank you, Jasper Donovan." He blinked. "How did you know my name?" "I heard the village folk speak of you when I passed through the human settlement 3 months ago. They said a veteran lived alone in the woods, keeping to himself. They said you were fair but dangerous." A ghost of a smile touched her lips. "They did not mention you were brave enough to face down orc warriors. Bravery or stupidity," Jasper muttered. "The line is thin." He moved to his kitchen area and began pulling out supplies. "You are bleeding. Sit down and let me tend to your feet." Cara hesitated, then lowered herself onto his single wooden chair. Jasper knelt before her with a basin of water and clean cloth, and began carefully washing the cuts and scrapes on her bare feet. She hissed at the sting but did not pull away. Her feet were strong like the rest of her, but smaller than he expected, and he found himself being as gentle as possible. "This will hurt worse," he warned, pulling out a bottle of strong alcohol. When he poured it over the deepest cuts, she gripped the arms of the chair hard enough to make the wood creak, but she did not cry out. He wrapped her feet in clean bandages, then moved to her hands, repeating the process. "You have done this before," she observed, watching him work. "Field medicine, you learn it fast in the army." He finished tying off the last bandage. "You should rest. You can take my bed. I will sleep in the main room." "I cannot take your bed," Cara protested. "You just ran through the forest in bare feet and a wedding dress. You are taking the bed." His tone left no room for argument. She studied him with those piercing amber eyes, and he had the uncomfortable feeling she was seeing far more than he wanted her to. "You are not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "I do not know. Someone harder, maybe, more bitter." She stood carefully, testing her bandaged feet. The veterans who live in the orc lands, the ones cast out or seeking exile, they are usually angry men. "I am plenty bitter," Jasper assured her. "I just keep it to myself." He showed her to his bed, a simple affair with a straw mattress and wool blankets, and she sat on the edge of it gingerly, as if afraid it might disappear. The ceremonial dress pooled around her, and he realized she had nothing else to wear. "I will find you something in the morning," he said. "For now, try to sleep. You are safe here." As he turned to leave, her voice stopped him. "Jasper, do you think they will come back?" He considered lying, then decided she deserved the truth. "Yes, probably tomorrow or the day after. They will search the area thoroughly. We need to have a plan." "What kind of plan?" "I am not sure yet, but we will figure it out." He gave her what he hoped was a reassuring nod. "Sleep, Cara. We will face tomorrow when it comes." He closed the door between the rooms and settled himself on the floor in front of the hearth, using his old military bedroll and a thin blanket. Sleep was a long time coming, and when it did, it was fitful and filled with dreams of angry orcs and bloodshed. Morning came with pale sunlight filtering through the shutters and the smell of smoke. Jasper woke with a start to find Cara in his main room, attempting to coax his fire back to life. She had managed to get it smoking impressively, but not actually burning. "You are doing it wrong," he said, standing and moving to take over. "You need kindling first, not just logs." She stepped back, looking embarrassed. "I have never made a fire before. The clan always had servants for such things." Jasper raised an eyebrow but said nothing, efficiently building up the fire until it crackled cheerfully. He set a pot of water to boil and pulled out oats for porridge. "How did you sleep?" he asked. "Better than I should have, considering." She looked down at her ruined dress. "I am sorry. I have made a mess of your home." "The home is fine. You are not a mess." He measured out the oats, very aware of her watching him. "I have some old clothes that might fit you. They will be too large, but better than wearing that." After they had eaten, he dug through his chest and found an old shirt and a pair of trousers, both worn but clean. Cara took them gratefully and changed in the back room while he cleaned up breakfast. When she emerged, she looked entirely different. The clothes hung loose on her frame, and she had braided her hair back in a simple style, but without the elaborate dress and ornaments, she looked younger and somehow more real. "Better?" she asked. "More practical," he agreed. They spent the morning in careful normalcy. Jasper went about his usual chores, checking his small garden, tending to his chickens, sharpening tools. Cara followed him, asking questions about everything. She wanted to know how to plant seeds, how to tell which eggs were fresh, how to identify different plants in the forest. He found himself explaining things he had never thought to explain, tasks that were so automatic to him that he hardly considered them skills. "In my clan, I was being trained to be a chieftain's wife," she told him as they weeded the garden together. That meant learning politics, clan history, how to manage servants and organize feasts, but not how to actually do any of the work myself. "So you have never cooked, cleaned, tended animals," she shook her head. "Never needed to. There were always others to do it." "That must have been isolating," he said. She paused in her weeding, a startled expression crossing her face. "It was. I never thought of it that way, but you are right. I was surrounded by people, but I did not actually know how to do anything useful. I felt useless." "Well, you are learning now." He showed her how to tell the difference between a weed and a seedling. "By the time winter comes, you will know how to survive on your own." "If I live that long," she said quietly. Jasper straightened, wiping dirt from his hands. "We need to talk about that, about what happens next." They went inside and sat across from each other at his small table. In the daylight, with her face cleaned and her cuts bandaged, Cara was even more striking than she had been the night before. Her green skin had a warm undertone, and her eyes were sharp with intelligence. "They will come back," Jasper said. "We both know that, and when they do, hiding you in the cellar might not be enough. They will be more aggressive, more thorough. Then I should leave." Cara's voice was steady but sad. "I should not have involved you. If I go now, they will not have reason to suspect you helped me." "And where will you go? Into the forest alone? You do not know how to start a fire, Cara. You would not last 3 days. Then what do you suggest?" Jasper leaned back in his chair, thinking. "We could try to get you to the human settlement. It is about 2 days' walk from here. Once you are there under human protection, your clan could not touch you without starting a war." "Would the humans accept me?" she asked doubtfully. "An orc alone with no clan?" "I do not know," he admitted. "But I know the sheriff there. He is a decent man. He might be willing to grant you sanctuary. And if he is not, then we figure out something else." She looked at him for a long moment, and he saw the conflict in her eyes. "Why are you doing this? You do not owe me anything." "I brought danger to your door." "Maybe I am tired of living alone in the woods," Jasper said, the words surprising him even as he spoke them. "Maybe helping you is helping myself too." Before Cara could respond, they heard the sound of horses approaching. Jasper moved to the window and cursed under his breath. A group of human riders was coming up the path toward his cottage, and at their head was a man he recognized. Marcus Drummond, a local militia captain who had served in the same war Jasper had, though they had never been friends. "It is humans this time," Jasper said. "Stay in the back room, do not let them see you." Cara disappeared quickly, and Jasper opened his door before Marcus could knock. The captain sat astride his horse, 5 other riders behind him, all armed and looking serious. "Jasper," Marcus said with a nod. "Mind if we come in?" "Yes, I mind." "What is this about?" Marcus dismounted, and the others followed suit. "We have had reports of orc activity in this area. A large search party came through the human settlement yesterday, looking for something. We are checking on all the homesteads in the region, making sure everyone is safe." "I am safe," Jasper said. "Thanks for checking." Marcus gave him a long look. "The orcs were looking for a runaway, a female. Their stories were a bit confused, but it sounds like she caused quite a stir." "You have not seen anything unusual?" "Marcus, I live in the middle of nowhere. Everything is usual. Can we come in?" "Just to check." Jasper felt his jaw tighten. "No, this is my home, and unless you have legal cause, you are not coming in." "Legal cause?" Marcus's expression hardened. "We are trying to keep the peace, Jasper. If there is an orc fugitive in the area and she ends up here, you could be in serious danger. We are trying to help." I appreciate the concern, but I can take care of myself. One of the other riders, a young man Jasper did not recognize, spoke up. Captain, we should search anyway. He could be hiding something. On what grounds? Jasper demanded. I have broken no laws. Marcus held up a hand to silence his man. No, Jasper is right. We have no grounds to search. But his eyes were calculating as they swept over the cottage, taking in every detail. But if you see anything at all, you need to report it. The last thing we need is trouble with the orc clans. Noted, Jasper said, echoing his response to the orc warriors. After the humans left, he found Cara standing in the back room, her face pale. They are looking for me too. Yes, I have made you enemy to both sides. She looked stricken. Jasper, I am so sorry. Stop apologizing. He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. We need to leave tonight. If both humans and orcs are searching this area, it is only a matter of time before someone decides to take a closer look at this place. Where will we go? North. There is a mountain pass about 5 days from here. Beyond it, the land is wild and unclaimed. Neither orc clans nor human settlements have authority there. We can lose ourselves in that wilderness, at least for a while. You are coming with me. She looked shocked. Did you think I was going to send you off alone? Jasper shook his head. Besides, staying here is not safe for me anymore either. Marcus is suspicious, and the orcs will be back. If they search this place thoroughly, they will find evidence that someone else has been here. Better to leave before that happens. They spent the afternoon preparing. Jasper packed his essential belongings into 2 large packs. Food, blankets, weapons, tools, fire-starting supplies, and a small tent. He showed Cara how to pack efficiently, how to balance the weight so it would not hurt her back during long walking. She learned quickly, her hands becoming surer with each task. As the sun began to set, they had a final meal in the cottage. Jasper made a stew from dried meat and root vegetables, and they ate in silence, both lost in their own thoughts. The little home felt different now, like something that belonged to the past rather than the present. Will you miss it? Cara asked quietly. Yes, Jasper admitted. I built this place with my own hands. It was supposed to be my peace after the war. I have destroyed your peace. Her voice was heavy with guilt. No, he met her eyes across the table. You gave me a reason to leave it. There is a difference. They set out just after dark, moving quietly through the forest. Jasper led the way, his military training coming back to him as he navigated by moonlight and memory. Cara followed close behind, moving with surprising grace despite her injured feet and unfamiliarity with wilderness travel. They walked for hours, putting distance between themselves and the cottage. Jasper chose routes that would hide their tracks, moving through streams where possible, avoiding open ground. When they finally stopped to rest, deep in the forest well off any established path, Cara sank down against a tree with a sigh of relief. How do you know where to go in the dark? She asked. Practice, years of it. He passed her a water skin. How are your feet? They hurt, but the bandages are holding. She took a long drink. Jasper, what will we do when we reach this wilderness you spoke of? Survive, build a new shelter, hunt and gather, live. He sat down beside her, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. It will not be easy, but it will be free. Free, she repeated softly, as if tasting the word. I have never been free before, not truly. They were quiet for a moment, listening to the night sounds of the forest, an owl hooting somewhere above, the rustle of small animals in the underbrush, the whisper of wind through leaves. Can I ask you something? Cara said. Go ahead. Why did you leave the army? What made you want to live alone in the woods? Jasper was quiet for so long she thought he might not answer. Then he said, I saw too much death, too much pointless violence. Humans and orcs killing each other over land, over resources, over old grudges. I was good at it, the fighting. Too good. And I hated that about myself. He looked down at his hands. So I left. I thought if I could just be alone, away from all of it, I could find some kind of peace. Did you? Sometimes, in small moments, he glanced at her. But mostly I was just lonely. Cara reached out slowly and placed her hand over his. Her palm was warm and rough from the day's work, her fingers strong. I understand loneliness. I was surrounded by my clan, but I felt alone every day. No one saw me as Cara. They saw a political asset, a bride to be traded for alliance. I see you as Cara, Jasper said quietly, her fingers tightened on his. I know. That is why I trust you. They sat there together in the darkness, hands clasped, and Jasper felt something shift in his chest. It was too soon, too fast, too complicated. She was orc and he was human. They were fugitives running from both their peoples. It was the worst possible time to feel anything beyond practical concern. And yet, he could not deny the warmth that spread through him at her touch, the sense of rightness that came from her presence beside him. We should keep moving, he said eventually, reluctantly. We can rest properly when we have more distance. They traveled through the night and into the next day, stopping only briefly to rest and eat. Jasper taught Cara how to move quietly through the forest, how to read signs of animal passages, how to identify safe water sources. She absorbed everything like parched earth absorbing rain, asking questions, practicing skills, growing more confident with each hour. On the second day, they found a small cave halfway up a rocky hillside, well hidden by undergrowth. Jasper deemed it safe enough to stop for proper rest, and they crawled inside, spreading out their bedrolls in the dry, cool interior. Sleep, he told Cara. I will keep watch. But when he woke hours later, he found that she had taken over the watch, sitting at the cave entrance with his knife in her hand, alert and focused. He sat up, disoriented. You were supposed to sleep. You were exhausted. I could see it in your eyes. She did not look back at him, her gaze fixed on the forest below. I might not know much about survival, but I can keep watch. He moved to sit beside her. You should have woken me. Why? So you could collapse from exhaustion. Now she did look at him, and there was a fierceness in her expression. You have done everything for me, Jasper. Let me do this one thing for you. They shared the watch after that, alternating sleep and guard duty. When night fell again, they risked a small fire deep in the cave, and Jasper taught Cara how to build one properly. She failed twice, her frustration evident, but on the third try the flames caught and held. Her delighted laugh echoed in the cave, and Jasper found himself smiling despite their circumstances. I made fire, she announced proudly. Yes, you did. This is probably a small thing to you, but to me. She shook her head, wonder in her expression. To me, it feels like magic. They cooked a simple meal over her fire and ate together, sitting close for warmth. The cave felt cozy despite its bare stone, intimate despite its crude nature. Tell me about your clan, Jasper said. What were they like? Cara was quiet for a moment, organizing her thoughts. The Stoneheart clan is old and proud. We value strength and tradition above all else. My father is chieftain, and he has led our clan for 30 years. He is not a cruel man, but he is rigid. He believes in duty above all. She poked at the fire with a stick. He chose Gorak for me because Gorak commands a large warrior band. The alliance would have strengthened our position against rival clans. And your mother, she died when I was young, birthing my brother. Cara's voice went soft. I barely remember her, just impressions, gentle hands. A kind voice. I am sorry. What about you? Do you have family? Jasper shook his head. My parents died of fever when I was 15. I joined the army shortly after because I had nowhere else to go. No siblings, no other relatives that claimed me. "So we are both alone," Cara said quietly. "Not anymore." The words came out before Jasper could think better of them, and they hung in the air between them, weighted with meaning. Cara turned to look at him fully, her amber eyes reflecting firelight. "Jasper, I need to say something. I know this situation, us traveling together, it is just temporary. When we reach the wilderness, when I am safe, you can go back. You do not have to stay with me." "What if I want to?" he asked, her breath caught. "Why would you want that?" "Because these past few days, running through the forest, hiding in caves, teaching you to make fire, I have felt more alive than I have in years." He held her gaze. "Because when I look at you, I do not see an orc, I see Cara. I see someone brave enough to run from a life that would have killed her spirit, someone strong enough to learn new things even when they are terrifying, someone I do not want to say goodbye to." "I am orc," she whispered. "You are human. Our peoples hate each other. I do not care." "You should care. If we are caught together, they will kill us both. Then we do not get caught." He reached out and cupped her face gently, his thumb brushing her cheek. "I know this is insane. I know it is dangerous and complicated and probably the stupidest thing I have ever done. But Cara, I have spent 3 years alone in those woods, and I never once felt what I feel when I am with you." Tears gathered in her eyes. "I feel it too. From that first moment when you opened your door, when you chose to help me even though you did not have to, I felt something. And every day since, it has grown stronger. Then why are we fighting it? Because I am afraid," she admitted. "I am afraid of what it means. I am afraid of hurting you. I am afraid of losing you." "I am afraid too," Jasper said, "but I am more afraid of letting fear make my choices." He leaned forward slowly, giving her time to pull away, but she did not. Instead, she closed the distance between them, and their lips met in a kiss that was gentle and tentative and full of unspoken promises. Her tusks pressed lightly against his skin, a reminder of her otherness, but he did not care. She tasted like wood smoke and hope. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Cara rested her forehead against his. "What are we doing?" "Something reckless and wonderful," he murmured. They held each other as the fire burned down to embers, and when they finally lay down to sleep, it was together, wrapped in each other's arms in a way that felt like coming home. The next 3 days of travel passed in a blur of walking, camping, and stolen moments of closeness. Jasper continued teaching Cara survival skills, and she proved an apt student. She learned to set snares for rabbits, to identify edible plants, to predict weather by reading clouds. Her confidence grew with each new skill, and Jasper found himself falling deeper with each passing hour. They talked as they walked, sharing stories from their pasts. Cara told him about growing up in the clan, about the pressure and expectations, about feeling like a caged bird. Jasper told her about his time in the army, about the friends he had lost, about the nightmares that still sometimes woke him. With each story, each revelation, the bond between them strengthened. On the 5th day, they reached the mountain pass. It was a narrow cleft between two towering peaks, steep and rocky and treacherous. They climbed carefully, Jasper going first to test the path, Cara following his exact footsteps. The air grew thin and cold, and their breath came in white puffs. At the highest point of the pass, they stopped to rest and look back the way they had come. Behind them, far in the distance, they could see the disputed lands, the territories where humans and orcs fought their endless conflicts. Ahead, the land opened into a vast wilderness of forest and river, untamed and beautiful. "There," Jasper said, pointing to a valley below where a river sparkled in the sunlight. "That is where we will build our home." Cara looked at him with shining eyes. "Our home, if you want that." "If you want me." "I want you," she said fiercely. "I want this. I want a life with you, however complicated, however dangerous. I want it more than I have ever wanted anything." He kissed her there on the mountain top, with the world spread out below them and the sky vast above, and it felt like a vow. They descended into the valley and found a spot near the river, where the land was flat and the forest provided shelter. Jasper showed Cara how to build a proper shelter, not just a temporary camp but a real structure that could withstand weather and time. They worked together, cutting saplings, weaving branches, packing mud into the gaps. It was hard, exhausting work, but they labored side by side, and every log they raised felt like a promise. Every wall they built felt like a commitment. In the evenings, they would sit by their fire and talk or simply be together in comfortable silence. Jasper taught Cara to fish, and she taught him words in the orc language, laughing at his pronunciation. They learned the rhythms of each other's bodies, the small habits and preferences that made up a life shared. One night, as they lay together under the stars, Cara said softly, "Do you think they are still looking for me?" "Probably," Jasper admitted. "But we are far from their territories now, and even if they found us, I would not let them take you. I know you would fight for me." She turned to face him. "But I hope you never have to. I want us to have peace, Jasper. Real peace." "We will make it," he promised. Together. Weeks passed, and their small homestead took shape. The shelter became a cabin with walls chinked tight against wind and a roof that kept out rain. They cleared a plot for a garden, dug a fire pit, built a smokehouse for preserving meat. Cara became adept at hunting with the bow Jasper made for her, and she took pride in providing for their small household. They fell into patterns, into routines that felt both domestic and wild. Morning meant checking snares and tending the garden. Afternoons were for hunting or gathering or building new improvements to their home. Evenings were for each other, for talking and laughing and making love under handmade quilts. One morning, Cara woke before dawn and found Jasper already outside, standing at the edge of their clearing and looking toward the east. She wrapped a blanket around herself and went to join him. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "About how different my life is now from what it was a few months ago." He pulled her close. "About how I thought I wanted solitude, but what I really needed was someone to share silence with." "That is surprisingly poetic for someone who mostly speaks in grunts while chopping wood," she teased. He laughed and kissed the top of her head. "I save my eloquence for important moments. Is this an important moment? Every moment with you is important." She turned in his arms to face him fully, her expression serious. "Jasper, I want to have a ceremony. Not like the orc wedding I ran from, nothing political or forced, just us making promises to each other." "A human marriage ceremony," he asked, "or an orc one, or something we make up ourselves?" She took his hands. "I do not care about the form. I just want to speak the words to make it real in that way." "It is already real," he said softly. "But yes, let us have a ceremony." They spent days preparing, gathering wildflowers, making new clothes from tanned leather, choosing a spot by the river where the water sang over smooth stones. When the day came, they stood facing each other at sunset, with no witnesses except the forest itself. Jasper spoke first. "Cara Stoneheart, I was a man living half a life when you came to my door. You brought danger, yes, but you also brought purpose and joy and love. I promised to stand beside you, to protect you, to learn with you, to build a life with you. I promised to see you always as Cara, the woman I love, not as orc or other or anything but my partner and my heart." Cara's voice was thick with emotion as she responded. "Jasper Donovan, you saved my life when you opened your door. You gave me freedom when you chose to run with me. You taught me strength when you showed me I could learn and grow. I promise to stand beside you, to hunt for you, to laugh with you, to build a life with you." I promise to see you, always, as Jasper, the man I love, not as human or other or anything but my partner and my heart." They had no rings, but Jasper had carved 2 wooden bands from oak, strong and simple. They exchanged them, sliding them onto each other's fingers, and then they kissed as the sun set behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. That night, they celebrated their marriage with a feast of roasted fish and foraged vegetables, with fresh bread Cara had learned to bake, with wild berries sweetened with honey. They danced with no music except the river's song, and they made love with a tenderness that came from knowing they had chosen each other, completely and without reservation. Months turned into seasons. Summer faded to autumn, and they worked hard to prepare for winter, smoking meat, drying vegetables, gathering firewood. When the first snow fell, their cabin was warm and well-stocked, and they spent the long winter nights wrapped in each other's warmth, telling stories and making plans for spring. Winter gave way to early spring when they had their first visitors. Jasper spotted them from a distance, a small group traveling through the wilderness, and his hand went immediately to his weapon. But as they drew closer, he saw they were not soldiers or searchers. They were a family, human and orc mixed, parents and children, looking tired and worn. "Hello, the camp," the man called out, holding his hands up to show he meant no harm. Jasper and Cara emerged together from their cabin, and the man's eyes went wide when he saw them standing side by side. The woman with him, an orc with kind eyes, smiled. "Are you the Rumor?" she asked. "The human and orc who live together in the wilderness, Rumor," Cara repeated. "There are stories," the man explained, "of a new land beyond the mountains where humans and orcs can live in peace. Where mixed families are welcome. We have been searching for it." Jasper and Cara exchanged glances. "There is no organized settlement," Jasper said carefully. "Just us. Just you is more than we have anywhere else," the woman said. "We have been cast out from both our peoples because we married across species. We have nowhere to go." Cara stepped forward. "Then you are welcome here. We have extra space, and winter has left us with surplus food. You can stay with us while you build your own shelter." Relief washed over the faces of the travelers, and the children, who had been silent and scared, began to smile. Over the following weeks, more arrived. A human woman who had loved an orc warrior, an orc man who had saved a human village from raiders and been exiled for his compassion. A mixed group of outcasts and refugees, all seeking the same thing, a place to belong. Jasper and Cara found themselves at the center of a growing community. They taught newcomers how to build shelters, how to hunt and fish, how to survive in the wilderness. Cara shared her orc knowledge of herb lore and weapon making. Jasper shared his human skills in agriculture and construction. The settlement grew organically, without formal structure, bound together by shared experience and mutual need. Humans and orcs worked side by side, learned from each other, fell in love with each other. Children played together without knowing they were supposed to see each other as enemies. One evening, sitting on the porch of their cabin watching the sunset, Cara leaned her head on Jasper's shoulder. "Did you ever imagine this?" "Never," he admitted. "I thought we would be alone out here. Are you disappointed?" "No." He wrapped his arm around her. "I thought I wanted solitude, then I thought I wanted just you. But this, what we have built, it feels right. It feels important." "It is important." Cara gestured to the settlement spread out before them, smoke rising from a dozen different cabins, children's laughter echoing in the evening air. "We have created something new, a place where love matters more than species. Where people choose each other not because of politics or duty, but because of genuine connection. All because you ran from your wedding and pounded on my door," Jasper said with a smile. She laughed. "And because you were brave enough to hide me and face the searchers." "I would do it again," he said seriously. "1,000 times over. I know." She kissed him softly. "That is why I love you." The settlement continued to grow, and with it grew a sense of hope. Word spread through whispered conversations and secret meetings, reaching those who lived in the shadows of both human and orc societies. The settlement became known as Haven, and it became a symbol of what was possible when fear and prejudice were set aside. Years passed. Jasper and Cara remained at the heart of Haven, not as leaders in any formal sense, but as its foundation, its example. Their love story became legend, told and retold to new arrivals who needed to believe that different peoples could find common ground. They had children eventually, 3 beautiful souls who inherited the best of both their parents, green-skinned with their mother's strength and their father's kindness. These children grew up, never knowing the hatred that had divided their parents' peoples, and they would carry that innocence forward into a new generation. On their 10th anniversary, Jasper and Cara returned to the spot by the river where they had first spoken their vows. The settlement had grown around them, but this place remained special, kept clear and beautiful by unspoken agreement. 10 years, Cara said wonderingly. "Sometimes it feels like yesterday that I was pounding on your door. Sometimes it feels like a lifetime ago." "Both," Jasper agreed. "We have lived several lifetimes in these years." "Do you have any regrets?" He thought about it seriously, then shook his head. "Not a single one, I regret that it took me so long to find the courage to run. I regret the years I wasted being afraid." She took his hand. "But I do not regret a single moment since I met you." They stood together as the sun set, just as they had on their wedding day, watching the light paint the sky in brilliant colors. Around them, Haven bustled with life, a community built on love and acceptance, on the radical idea that people could choose connection over division. It had all started with a desperate woman pounding on a door and a lonely man brave enough to answer. From that single moment of compassion, an entire world had grown. And as Jasper pulled Cara close and kissed her, tasting home and hope and forever, he knew that every risk had been worth it, every danger justified, every fear conquered. They had found each other in the darkness and built a light that would shine for generations. They had taken the hatred between their peoples and transformed it into love. They had run from everything they knew and found everything they needed, and they were happy. Truly, completely, wonderfully happy. In Haven, in each other's arms, in the life they had built together. It was everything they had fought for and more than they had dared to dream. The story of the orc bride who bolted from her wedding and the human man who hid her from the searchers would be told for many years to come. But for Jasper and Cara, it was not a story. It was their life, their love, their legacy, and it was perfect.